at cartoninsurance.net. MIZZOU.
The Lou Information Station presents the GSV High School Sports Show. Now, here are your hosts, John Huff and Brody Herman.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Gateway Sports Venue High School Sports Show live here on 590 AM. John Huff right here, Brody Herman, Ryan behind the ones and twos. Thank you all for joining us. Friday of all great days as usual. So we're just going to get right into it. Brody, high school sports football season is over. Overall, I mean, it's always a great year for high school sports, but it was kind of a down year ultimately when you look at the bottom line for St. Louis football. We had no state championship teams.
Not a single one. The only St. Louis area team, I believe, to appear in a state championship final in Missouri high school football is Lift for Life, I believe, led by Tony Wilfork. He's really turned that program around. He's got a lot of great players that have followed him along. They've got a lot of prominent D1 players. Cameron Hurst, who's committed to Cincinnati. They've got who plays cornerback position, and they've got another kid. He plays Javion Scott. He's going, I believe, to Missouri. Where's Javion Scott going? Because he flipped his commitment recently.
He did. I know he had some offers to Kansas State and a few other D1 schools. I believe. I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I believe South Dakota State.
Yes, South Dakota State, I believe. But yes, very, very great turnaround that he's had there. But not a lot of teams winning. Kearney winning in Class 4, Platte County winning in Class 5. Lee Summit, after coming from 0-4 with 10 straight wins, are your Class 6 state champions. I don't know the last 4 losses, won the Class 6 state championship. That's unbelievable.
I can tell you the last time. Well, I'll do you one better. So in 2016, actually, Vianney, they ended the regular season at 4-5. They ended up winning Class 5. However, though, Lee Summit, they're the first team ever to start 0-4 and go on to win state.
Wow.
Pretty unbelievable. I love high school football, so I'm all for the storylines, and the state championship games were actually pretty great.
Yes, they were.
For the first time ever being in St. Joseph at Missouri Western State University, so the drive wasn't particularly fun, 4.5 hours up there, and do not ever drive back, just straight back to St. Louis at midnight from there, because it's going to be pretty brutal, and I unfortunately made that mistake, so lesson learned right there. But overall, it was a great season. Let's talk about the St. Louis area teams who did pretty well. Obviously, CBC had a fantastic season. Yes. They averaged about, I think, like over 55 points a game. Unfortunately, ran into a really good Jackson team down in Southeast Missouri in the Pit, which is probably the hardest place to win a football game in high school football in Missouri, where you got about at least 5,000 people there, probably even more, that are just screaming their heads off for the Indians. And that was a really tough game for CBC there. Brody, you're a big CBC guy.
Yes.
Repping the Cadets right there. I see. Just how good was the CBC team?
CBC team was very solid. It's not the standard that we're accustomed to, but we have a very high standard. Obviously, Scott Pingle, who's been our head coach since 2008, has really just made the program into an absolute powerhouse in the state of Missouri. They've won 5 state championships over a decade. They've won half of them. This past season, we had a standout running back, Victor Williams, who committed to Northern Kentucky University, and we also had another running back in the backfield, Courtney Rivers, who's committed to South Dakota. Our quarterback, Nick McClellan, is committed to Kansas State, to now play for Colin Klein, who played quarterback in high school but is likely to play safety at that school. We have a lot of other hidden gems on the team that have really just unbelievably impressed me. Joe Kopp on the defensive line did a really stellar job. We've got really good receivers. Corday Gage, one of the best multi-sport athletes in the area, the son of Justin Gage, who's the wide receivers coach at CBC. Corday Gage, 2027, class of 2027, plays both baseball and football. You also have up-and-coming guys, freshman wide receiver Milton Proctor and a sophomore wide receiver Kingston McPike, who had to sit out this season because he transferred in from North Point High School, which is in the Wentzville School District. But they also had some standouts as well. Jaden Reed, a wide receiver committed to Indiana State University. They have Jake Plummer first, who's committed to Fresno State University, who played tight end for us this year. He'll play defensive end at Fresno State. Both of those guys also standouts on the basketball team. A lot of athleticism this team displayed. Just an absolute offensive juggernaut and tough to stop. But their defense had trouble stopping teams. You saw it kind of come unglued the defense in the last few weeks of the season, coming unglued against DeSmet, then even more so against Lafayette, then ultimately against Jackson, giving up 31 points in the first quarter and ultimately losing to Jackson by the score of 45-42 in the pit. They came back and only lost within 3, but that's how much fight that CBC had. Not the result they wanted, but I think they have a lot of up-and-coming players, and they are definitely going to be a threat in the Metro Catholic Conference for years to come under Scott Pingle.
Will be a threat, have been a threat, still continue will be to be a threat as well. And you mentioned Lafayette there. I was actually at Lafayette last night. I got to run in there, got to talk to their coach, Kurt Mueller, for just a few seconds last night there, and just a heck of a job the Lancers were able to do in his first year as a head coach there. They went undefeated in the regular season, ended up losing the CBC in the district championship game, final score of 77-62. And so the Lancers finished 10-1. Really, they've been on a really good run. Lafayette the last 4 years or so, I'd say. That's probably got to be one of the more accomplished senior classes they've ever had in their program, which has been a pretty good program for a long time, over 60 years now. So that's kind of the Class 6 scope right there. Kirkwood, they got bounced by Platte County in the semifinals. Gave up, I think, they lost 64-35 in that game. Pioneers had another really good season, back-to-back years going into the Final Four, last year being in Class 6, and then this past season in Class 5. Jacob Eberhardt, their best player, he's going to the University of Illinois. Had a fantastic career there for the Pioneers under head coach Jeremy Macklin as a Mizzou great and played in the NFL for a little while. And Cardinal Ritter, another Class 5 team, they made it to the Final Four. You're going to see a trend where there's a lot of our best teams ended up losing in the Final Four.
Yes, unfortunately, in St. Louis. If you want to call into the show, that's 855-282-8255. Again, if you want to call in, that's 855-282-8255. 8255. And you want to text us, that's 314-590-3770. Again, that's 314-590-3770 if you want to text us. And of course, if you want to type into the YouTube chat with any questions or any of your high school sports takes, we will gladly respond to those right there in the YouTube chat on the Lou Info YouTube chat. The Lou Info YouTube channel. And of course, another thing I want to talk about here, the IHSA playoffs will expand by 128 teams next season. The IHSA voted on Tuesday to add 16 teams to each of its 8 playoff classes, an increase from 32 to 48 in each class, an increase with 256 teams to overall 384. The amendment comes with a revised schedule that moves to the start of the regular season play up 1 week, eliminating the week 0 scrimmage. The top 16 teams in each class will receive a first bye in the playoffs. And of course, the amendment passed will have a majority of 377 schools voting for the expansion, 252 against. 96 schools offered up no opinion, but likely that means that 3 or 4 win schools in IHSA will be added to the playoffs. John, what are your thoughts on the IHSA playoff expansion?
Well, I've been a little vocal about this on Twitter. I disagree with it. I really like the way how the playoff system stood there. I mean, I guess the seeding format could have been a little changed, because in classes 1 through 6, they instead of all 32 teams seeding like 1 through 32, they will do 1 through 16 and like have a north and south bracket, which I understand for travel constraints. And I just know a lot of people in Illinois kind of wanted to go just to 1 through 32 to truly get the 2 best teams in the state. But I understand from another side, because I've heard one of the reasons is this will stop teams from moving conferences all the time.
Yep.
To kind of get a more competitive advantage. And then also it'll, I guess, allow teams to schedule tougher schedules.
Yep.
Because you don't want to lose, because for people who don't know, if you win 5 games, essentially if you have a winning record, you got to go 5-4 at least to qualify for the playoffs. But that's what I like about it too, because you get mostly good teams, and not all the teams are going to be good, because a lot of years, there's 5-4 teams and maybe even some 6-3 teams that just have really soft schedules and aren't that good, and then they just get dominated in the first round. And we already have a problem with that in MSHSAA in the first round. It actually ended up working okay this season. I thought, you just have the first 2 rounds are kind of rough overall, but eventually when you get further down, it's better as far as competition goes. But ultimately, and it's, you kind of got to throw sentimental things out of the picture ultimately, because that's just not the bottom line. But I really like when playoffs mean more, right?
Yep.
When you gotta follow a certain criteria in order to get in, and I really like that. And then you're just not going to have that now in Illinois because essentially teams with 2 wins can qualify.
Yes.
And yeah, that's irking people the wrong way. And yeah, and I've heard people say like, hey, you get to prolong someone's career for another week. And like, well, okay, nice, but make sure you make every game count then if that's the case. And then I even ran a poll and on GSV on our social medias and Instagram and said, if you're a 2-8 team or 2-7 team going into week 10, are you excited for that? And then 61% said no.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get a kid's perspective on that.
Sure.
And it was kind of how I thought it would go, honestly. But and also, so this is one thing a lot of coaches I've heard of are kind of worried about. So before the IHSA playoff expansion, you had 16 days of practice before week 1 with players requiring 12 practices. And now there's going to be 10 days of practice. So we're in August right here.
Yes.
10 days of practice before week 1 with players requiring 9 practices. So you have less practice times. And then I've heard about, hey, the dead week, you're going to have players practicing in, the July essentially and earlier in June. So it's potentially, heat and, hotter weather, so to speak. But that's just another one of the reasons there too. So and then of course, you have teams who get the chance to play in the playoffs when they never had that chance. But at the same time, I just think like, well, look, you just got to get better ultimately. And that's what makes the playoffs more rewarding and, higher and more of a privilege. So yeah, it is what it is, but it's just the way the world is right now. We just kind of want more people to get chances.
Absolutely. And of course, now over on the MSHSAA side, could Missouri replace MSHSAA by a board of directors appointed by the governor? There is a Senate bill 8263 that will be voted on January 7th. It has been pre-filed by Republican Senator Jason Bean. And of course, MSHSAA has been raked to the coals by this station for numerous things they do. They oftentimes act as an enforcement to kids wanting to transfer and has not been a popular organization by many student athletes, high school coaches, and parents alike. John, do you believe MSHSAA will be eliminated? Will the vote determine it? And what would it look like if the governor decided that he's going to appoint a board to oversee high school sports?
Well, I really have no idea what's going to be made of the decision. I don't have any indications of what's going to happen. I've talked to a lot of people and, I posted about this. It's funny when you post about something like this that involves politics, you get that kind of crowd.
Yep.
And it's not so fun. Really makes high school sport or just sports in general, but more fun to talk about than politics. But yeah, I've kind of heard the read I've gotten is a lot of people do not like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not like MSHSAA, but they would rather MSHSAA stay the same than have politics and politicians get involved in it. So, and I can definitely see both sides of this because a lot of people don't like MSHSAA and what they do. And I've certainly, I wouldn't say I hate MSHSAA, but I certainly have a lot of critiques for it.
Sure.
In certain things, but it might be best just to keep it the way it is just for, because with politics if politicians get involved in this, it could go drastically wrong.
Yes.
So, and I think it's something similar is going on in Kansas as well. And a lot of people have heard, I don't know if I've ever heard a single good thing about, the Kansas High School Activities Association. So
yeah,
there's my 2 cents there.
Yeah. MSHSAA, obviously, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously in college sports, you have NIL and the transfer portal. What are your thoughts on MSHSAA's rules on transferring and really NIL and all of those aspects as it relates to high school sports compared to college?
I think they just need to be like stricter on transfers. Like if they see something that's out of the ordinary, they really should bounce on that and just enforce something. And if there's rules to enforce them. But it's a complicated situation of, I've always thought if there's someone who lives in a public school, like who is attending a private school, but wants to transfer back to their public school, I think they should be eligible within like 90 days or so, something like that. And then if it's like, if you're transferring from another private school to a private school, then, and if you can't get the certain, requirements done or whatever, then yeah, you got to sit out 365 days. So I would say, like, if there's certain rules that are enforceable and you know it, then go do it. And then if you find out that someone is, attending a public school but really isn't living in that school district, then yeah, you got to enforce the rules right there. So I would just say, like, stick to the basics and do your job.
Yeah, and they've had a new rule now for homeschooling students. Apparently, this is a new thing MSHSAA has done, where homeschooling students can play for their public school sports team.
I like
Talk
that.
about it a little more about that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, one of my better friends growing up was homeschooled, but it'd been nice, like, for him to, like, go play for I went to Ladue High School, so, like, he would have gone to Ladue High School too. And yeah, so I think that's a fair rule. I would imagine so. And not just restrict homeschool kids to, like, have to go to private schools or something like that, just because I'm sure there's a lot of really good athletes out there who are homeschooled, and that's a more and more popular trend just to get homeschooled nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we had a new coaching hire recently. Lutheran St. Charles has hired 8-year NFL veteran, Francis Howell Central graduate who played at Lindenwood University, cornerback Pierre Desir, who gives a lot. He gives a lot of his time and his heart back to the community, is now the new head coach of Lutheran St. Charles. Previously, they haven't had stable leadership since Arlen Harris departed from there. Arlen Harris is currently the head coach over at Timberland High School in the Wentzville School District. What are your thoughts on Lutheran St. Charles hiring a former NFL player in Pierre Desir?
Yeah, I think it's a really good hire. As of right now, on paper, it's pretty good. Like you said, Pierre's done a lot for the community, Lindenwood alum, and he was one of those rare guys at the time who, coming out of Lindenwood, who's Division II, to get drafted in the NFL and have a long career, which was that in alone itself is just an incredible story. And now I don't think he's had any head football coach experience before, at least in high school, but like I said, I think it's for Lutheran St. Charles, where they are as a program. I mean, they've been struggling ever since Arlen Harris left. And, so they obviously want to recapture what they were doing under him, winning a state title in 2021. And even before that, just being pretty good and having D1 players come through their program. And so I think Pierre he's a vital candidate to kind of enable that development and recruit kids to go to Lutheran High School right there. So I think it's a pretty good hire as of right now. And really looking forward to seeing what he's able to do there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pierre is a wonderful person, and I really believe he can really turn Lutheran St. Charles around and really provide the stable leadership for their football program that they're, actively seeking. A lot of schools looking to hire new football coaches this offseason. I believe Hazelwood Central has let go of Jason Wells, I believe, after only 2 seasons there.
Correct.
They are on the hunt to look for a new head coach. I think Hazelwood West is as well. There are a lot of head coaching openings. Parkway South with John Heath is no longer there anymore. They're on the hunt for a new head coach. A lot of schools looking for new head coaches already after this season. John, I know this question will come up. Who are some of the freshmen or guys that you believe that have come on the scene this season as freshmen that have really just made an impact? And because GSV, videographs and takes a lot of photos and captures a lot of high school sports games around the area. So who are your top freshman guys that we should be looking for from the high school football season that made an impression on you, John?
There's a lot, and there's a lot of names going around there, but one is, I'll name a few here because you don't want to name too many just to hype these guys up. But I would say, again, I mentioned I'm a Ladue guy, and I filmed a lot of Ladue this year, and that's Bass Dixon. He's a defensive lineman. He's about 6 foot, 220 pounds. He had 12 sacks this year, he had 12 sacks as a freshman, right around 50 tackles. He caught my eye in the offseason, and it's just rare to see a freshman defensive lineman have just such a huge impact for being like a 14, 15-year-old. And then he was first team all conference in the Suburban Red. And so he's a really explosive and strong. And then Rylan Moore is a quarterback. One of the 2 quarterbacks at Cardinal Ritter, he had a really productive season for them, helped lead them to forget what their record is, but their Final Four season in Class 5. And so for a freshman to do that's pretty impressive, with a lot of responsibility for a program like Cardinal Ritter, as big as they are. And then Braden Bierman, who's a quarterback at Parkway West. He didn't start, obviously, under Brett Ottensmeyer, who had a great season. He's going to Missouri State. But he did start for a game and did okay. And I know he's a guy that's he's highly in Parkway West plans to be.
Yes, he's the son, for those who don't know, the son of Matt Bierman, who runs the Elite Football Academy, who's now on Parkway West's coaching staff. His son is Braden Bierman, Matt Bierman has trained numerous quarterbacks, Blaine Gabbert, Brett Gabbert, Brady Cook. I can list the wide gamut. Other guys that I've seen this year on the freshman side, Michael Wurges, an offensive tackle, 6'5". He played for Eureka this year. Eureka known for producing great offensive linemen. Josh Baker, Josh Swingler. It's just so many guys. Brandon Schlittler. Just have had great success at the college level. Jake Sumner, their head coach over there who played at Lindenwood, was an offensive lineman himself. Mason Coleman, out of a linebacker out of MICDS. He is the younger brother of Miles Coleman. He had a stellar freshman campaign. And Vianney had some up-and-coming freshmen, and Kali Thomas, CJ Fennell. And I know they've got a lot of freshmen over at Vianney, a very young squad lineup. And of course, Rylan Moore, who I saw as quarterback playing for Certified South in his JFL career, is, I think, going to have a very good career at Cardinal Ritter. So a lot of up-and-coming freshmen, I believe, in the area that have really made some tremendous impact. Up-and-coming guys, Cameron Johnson, Milton Proctor for CBC, and Braylon Hill, an offensive lineman at DeSmet. He got some starts. So I think there's a lot of young, promising players in the St. Louis area that you guys can look forward to for the next several years that are going to be recruited. And it's very important to do so. If you're a high school football player, get on getoffer.com if you want to set up a profile there. It's really important to go to Game Plan Consulting Strategies, the recruiting firm. JP Rock runs it. If you really, guys, care about your recruiting, because I know a lot of guys submit questions about recruiting to all the various shows on here, please go to those places if you want to take your college football recruiting to the next level.
And also to add in there, Tristan, there's a guy at SLU, Tristan Johnson. He's a 6'5" receiver. He might develop into a tight end. I don't know. There's a lot you can do with 6'5".
He's got an offer from Nebraska, and they got another guy named Grand Geary, who's another wide receiver they got going on over there. And Patrick Ramella, a quarterback over there at SLU. I mean, they got some really young up-and-coming players. Antoine Porter over at Parkway West, a great target will be for Braden Bierman. Parkway West up and coming next couple of years. Jeff Duncan is their head coach. They've got Grayson Smith and Max Jones, some size for pass catchers over there at Parkway West. And they've got a really, really good kid, Caleb Voigt, multi-sport athlete. He was on varsity this year as a linebacker for them. They got another kid who also is a multi-sport athlete, plays baseball, Gunnar Holmes. He's a sophomore linebacker. They've got a lot of young, promising players at Parkway West. Matt Bierman really matriculating his team, that JFL team that he has, really handing it off over to Jeff Duncan, Parkway West, a coach that talked about, I believe Rockwood Summit's coach talked about the importance of his JFL program and how that's really helped, for a lot of public schools who, have continued to ixnay or eliminate their junior football league teams. Parkway Central has done so, and there are a lot of others in the area that have not funded their junior football league teams. I think it's vital and important for junior football league teams to be funded by their public schools, or at least be funded by, parents of the program, or just something. If you want a high school football program to succeed, especially in your public school, I think a junior football team is vital and important for this cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's Eric Stewart. He's the head coach at Rockwood Summit. And he actually was on our podcast a few years ago now, talking about his JFL program. And like he even said just a few years ago, when the team who I think finished 10-1 or 11-1 actually in 2021, like he said, when they were in sixth grade, they didn't win a game in JFL.
Yeah.
But it's just all about developing, and it's great if you can have, some studs. But he even said, like, well, that's great, but then what if they're seniors and there's only like 10 guys in that class? Like, it's not that great of a class, obviously. But, if you can build guys up and keep guys around, build depth and chemistry starting from JFL, and then you have guys who stick around, and then, a senior class could be nearing 20 or over that.
Yep.
That's a JFL program working out in the long term ultimately. And so that's really what it's for. It's just to build up depth and get guys into the program and stick around, and ultimately just, reap the benefits of playing high school football. Absolutely.
After the break, we are going to talk about high school basketball in the St. Louis area. Don't touch that dial. Stay tuned.
For listening so far.
Yeah. It's the Gateway High School Sports Venue Show, live and on demand at luinfo.com, right here on the Lou Information Station.
St. Louis, meet your new daily companion, the Lou Information Station app. Listen live anywhere, anytime with one click. Dive into live or on-demand content. It's the fastest way to stay connected to the conversations that matter in the Lou. Just search Lou Information Station in the App Store or Google Play and download it free today. The Lou Information Station app. Crystal clear St. Louis talk 24/7.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton, State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's Will to Win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at carltoninsurance.net. MIZZOU.
When it's time to bring the energy, don't fake it. Fuel it. Drink Thunder is the all-natural, plant-based, fruit-based pre-workout drink that gives you real results without the junk. No sugar, no crash, just clean energy, powered by nature, and loaded with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to help you perform at your best. Go to drinkthunder.com and grab your favorite flavor, orange mango, blackberry lemonade, or strawberry cream. Drink Thunder, the clean way to power your workout. drinkthunder.com.
LouInfo.com news headlines. Brought to you by Brown and Crouppen, 222-2222.
Your LouInfo.com news report. A boy and his early teens died Wednesday evening in a shooting in South St. Louis. St. Louis police said the shooting happened around 6 p.m. in the 3600 block of Oregon Avenue. The injured boy made his way into the house on Oregon, where responding police found him. He did not live at the home. The boy was rushed to an area hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. No further details were immediately available, including the child's age and the circumstances of the shooting. Police said they were looking for a dark sedan with ballistic damage and no license plates. Anyone with information was asked to contact Crime Stoppers. 2 men were charged after an armed carjacking to a DoorDash driver near downtown St. Louis. According to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, the robbery happened December 10th in the area of Olive and 15th Street. SLMPD said the DoorDash driver had parked his Toyota Corolla to make a delivery when 2 men, Michael Naylor, 35, and Tata Stone, 22, approached him, with one armed with a gun. For the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com and the free Lou Info app. I'm Julio Flores.
Now, LouInfo.com weather. Presented by STL Sports Central. St. Louis sports. Anytime, anywhere.
Here's your LouInfo.com weather update. Little windy today, a few gusts around 30 miles an hour, but otherwise pretty nice sunshine, and we should hit about 40. Overnight will be clear, low 30s, and then plenty of sunshine coming up on Saturday. A little bit breezy, but not too bad, and it will be quite a bit warmer, high in the mid-50s, low 40s and sunny Sunday. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at LouInfo.com and the free Lou Info app.
Jim, this is going to be the year. I've got to turn my backyard into a full-blown paradise. I'm talking a pool, outdoor kitchen, fire pit, the whole deal.
Cam, does this have anything to do with that year-end bonus you think you're getting?
Absolutely. I'm already spending it in my head. But unlike Clark Griswold, I won't end up in the Jelly of the Month Club because I called Merrimack Pools and Outdoors.
Smart move. They don't do surprises unless you count actually finishing projects on time.
Exactly. Merrimack Pools and Outdoors will sit down with you now before the end of the year. Plan out everything. Straightforward pricing. Amazing designs. Get started and you could be splashing around in your own brand new pool by Memorial Day.
So plan now, relax later.
Go to splashstl.com and schedule your consultation.
Merrimack Pools and Outdoors, helping St. Louis families turn Griswold-sized dreams into backyard realities for more than 25 years. SplashSTL.com.
And if that bonus doesn't come through, Jimmy, Cousin Eddie's RV is going to end up parked right in the boss's driveway.
Fast Track Auto Transport has been a trusted leader in vehicle shipping for over 25 years, providing reliable, affordable service across the U.S. Fast Track offers fast and safe transportation solutions for individuals, dealerships, fleets, and businesses of all sizes. The Fast Track team prides itself on honest communication, competitive pricing, and real-time tracking, which gives our customers peace of mind from pickup to delivery. Whether you're shipping a single car or managing a large fleet, Fast Track delivers a smooth, hassle-free experience every time. Come see why Fast Track Auto Transport has been St. Louis's go-to company for all your vehicle transport needs for over 25 years. The trusted way, the safe way, the Fast Track way. Visit ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004. That's ftautotrans.com or call 636-677-9004.
Now back to more of the GSV High School Sports Show on the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com and on the free Lou Info app.
This is the Gateway Sports Venue High School Sports Show at louinfo.com. We kind of rushed into it on the first hour, so I just wanted to give you a little breakdown of the history of GSV for a second. So we started out in 2016 and started out in just my family room, honestly, and then a few years later just did some videos and got a few more people to help us out, film stuff, and we've always been doing rankings and videos, a combination of both. And lo and behold, here we are, about 10 years later now, and now we're here on the radio. So, and yeah, Brody, I mean, this is the first time you were on a few of our podcasts too.
Yes, I was. Yeah. That's right. You discovered me, John, back in 2020, and then I was on 15 episodes between 2020 and 2021. It was an absolutely great experience. Got me into journalism, which was great. I ended up getting a journalism degree from the University of Minnesota. It was all the way back when I was in high school, and then I ended up going to journalism school and showing them actually tapes of podcasts, got into the old J school, and that's what I ended up getting a degree in. That's how I ended up here.
I went to a slightly more prestigious school at Missouri Baptist University. So there you go. And
at least you got your master's degree, didn't you?
Got a journalism degree in 2017 there. Yeah.
There you go.
I was doing GSV on the side, and also I worked at Riverbender for about 5 years too in Alton, Illinois, right there. So yeah, that's how I got my start in journalism. Wouldn't trade it for that experience, but it was really cool. And here we are now. And now we're going to talk about basketball.
That's right, basketball. And if you want to call in, that's 855-282-8255. Again, that's 855-282-8255. You want to call in, if you want to text us, that's 314-590-3770. Again, if you want to text us, that's 314-590-3770. Of course, you can also type in your questions and whatever you really want on the YouTube chat, and we will gladly respond to those comments there. And of course, that's right, high school basketball, a lot of games going on. And of course, for tonight on the Mid-States Hockey, we have John Burroughs versus Webster Groves at 6:40 p.m. right here on the Lou Information Station and the Lou Info YouTube page. They'll be right here on 590 AM KLIS Lou Information Station. Ethan Hannaford and Hunter Mulholland will be on the call. And of course, we have Metro Catholic Conference basketball. That's right, at 6:10 p.m. That'll be on St. Louis Sports Central. Again, that'll be on St. Louis Sports Central, 6:10 p.m. That'll be Chaminade versus Vianney. Grant Salzman and Matthew Rocchio will be on the call again. That'll be on the St. Louis Sports Central YouTube page. If you want to check out some Metro Catholic Conference basketball, Chaminade versus Vianney, both ranked teams in the area.
Brody, you like dialed it up to a 12 right there, dude.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, that John Burroughs versus Webster Groves, that's at 7 p.m.
Okay, so that is actually 7 p.m. Yeah. They wrote it for 6:40 p.m. I believe that's because they have a pre-show.
Live?
Yeah. 6:40 live. Yeah, I think they have a pre-show game going on. So
very nice.
That'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. You can get Mid-States Hockey and Metro Catholic Conference basketball all on one radio station here, right here on KLIS 590 AM, the Lou Information Station.
I want to talk about two games last night. First off, Principia, they take down the number 4 team in the country. Columbus from high school from Florida, 74-62 in the City of Palms basketball classic. And Quentin Coleman, who's committed to Wake Forest, he had 31 points.
Wow. Really love what Jay Blossom's done over there at Principia. He's been there 4 years. And of course, they were runner-ups in Class 2 back in his first year in 2023. And last year, they were able to get over the hump. And in Class 3, they won a state championship. Jay Blossom got him over the hump and has done a tremendous job. He travels all around the globe. They are getting players in from all over the world to come to play Principia Panther basketball. They've got a lot of great talent there. Quentin Coleman, Ronald Henry, Kingston Money, Sekou Cease, Gassim Torre. They have got a ton of talent over there. Got a freshman from Poland. Principia's got names and names. They are all stacked up, and they are looking to win a Class 4, I believe, state championship. They're
Class 3.
4. They're still in Class 3, so the success factor is not moved over yet to them to Class 4, but believe me, what Principia has done over there on their campus with their athletic programs, they are expanding. They hired Matty Mock this year for football in his first season. They just hired David Wiggins away from Webster Groves. He is now their new baseball coach. The Principia Panthers athletic program is trying to compete with the big dogs, no doubt about it. And Jay Blossom is certainly catapulted that with his basketball program, the top-ranked team currently in Missouri right now. And for those who don't know, Columbus, Florida, as John talked about, nationally ranked program. They have the Boozer twins who just graduated from there. They're down in the Miami area. They're a public school. And Principia just taking them down in just a stellar fashion, really. And of course, the other game you want to talk about, right? You were there to cover it last night. Eureka and Lafayette. Eureka beating Lafayette after coming up from a deficit there, a 20-point halftime deficit, as Eureka defeated Lafayette 56-53. Lafayette making the Final Four last year under first-year head coach Don Cricket. Veteran head coach Austin Kirby, who has, as we know, graduated from Parkway Central, played at Truman State, has led John Habercorn, 23 points. Joe Rawls, who's a senior, 15 points. Jackson Joggerhurst, 10 points. He's committed to play baseball at SEMO. A lot of multi-sport athletes. So Coleman Watson, an up-and-comer for Lafayette. He played on the Gateway Night. He's played on the Gateway Knights AAU basketball team. I've seen that kid play for a long time, even back in his Rockwood Valley middle days. Coleman Watson's a name to watch out for if you're the class of 2020. John, talk about this game for us, and what are your thoughts on Eureka's win over Lafayette?
Tale of two halves, man. Started out rough for Eureka, had a hard time making shots, and Lafayette did a really good job of getting to the basket. And then they had some, you mentioned Coleman right there. He made a few threes, and they were shooting fairly well overall, played good defense, and then just totally flipped. Austin Kirby he's a really good head coach, a really good strategist, and I don't know what he said. I don't know what they did at halftime, but they clearly wanted to implement some up-tempo defense and get some traps, and they did a fantastic job of doing that. They got turnovers, and then offensively, it seemed like they wanted to utilize their size more, get the ball inside the Habercorn. He's about 6'4", but he's really athletic, and moves very well. He's got really good feet. And then Joggers, who's been a 4-year starter on for the Wildcats. He's 6'6".
Committed to play baseball. Think about them apples.
Exactly. Yeah, he's been a 4-year starter for baseball and basketball. So it's pretty incredible for Eureka's a big school. So, and a pretty athletic school too. All things considered. I'm talking fast now. You got me talking fast.
No problem.
And then Joe Rawls. He's been a 3-year starter for them too. And they were just, it seemed like every possession for about first 5 minutes of the third quarter, they were either scoring or going to the free throw line. And believe it or not, they actually took the lead on a buzzer beater going into the fourth quarter. So they outscored Lafayette. Yeah, they outscored Lafayette. Eureka did 28-7. Pretty crazy. And then they were able to keep the momentum going for the most part and hit their free throws down the stretch, and were able to hold off a last-second Lafayette 3-point attempt and got the win. And I don't know what trophy they had. They were playing for a trophy.
Yeah,
but,
both of them are in the same school district, the Rockwood School District.
Yeah, the Battle of 109, and I don't think it's the Mayor's Cup or whatever, but but they have a nice new trophy there. So for Eureka, and that was a great game. Didn't expect it to be that great, but it was, and now here we are on Friday night, and we got a good slate tonight.
Absolutely, we do. Metro Catholic Conference basketball. We have 2 games tonight for you. First game we're going to talk about here is going to be broadcasted on St. Louis Sports Central's YouTube channel, broadcasted by Grant Salzman and Matthew Rocchio. Chaminade versus Vianney, both long-tenured head coaches. Frank Bennett, who's been there, the head coach of Chaminade since the 2013-14 season. Kevin Walsh has been the head coach of Vianney since the 2000-2001 season. Both at their alma maters, respectively. Chaminade has always had the upper hand in the rivalry. They produced NBA talent such as David Lee, Bradley Beal, and Jason Tatum. They have a lot going into this game, a lot going on. Elijah Ponywa, sophomore, who's played on the Missouri Phenom. He is their sophomore guard. And, of course, Johnny Jordan, who's committed to Omaha, Nebraska, their senior guard. He's got a younger brother, Luke Jordan, who is currently a freshman on the team. They have got a lot on this team coming in. They've got just so much talent. Mohammed Karama, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I probably butchered that name. He's coming in from Colorado. He played on the Gateway Knights team this summer. He was there. This is a stellar player. He's a sophomore, 6'8" forward. They've got a lot going on over there at Chaminade after losing the White Twins, and just going up against Vianney, who have a lot of seasoning on there, a lot of returning seasoned players, Brock Long, Chase Duke, and of course, Ben Karsten, one of the best sharpshooters from the area. He also played for the Gateway Knights program in the New Balance Prelude 32. And they also, another kid who played on the Gateway Knights Prelude 32 on the Gateway Knights, Mamadou Dejan Berry, a 7-foot sophomore center. No exaggeration. He is 7 foot. It is going to be an interesting matchup to see him and Karama going at it tonight. both battle of the bigs here. Vianney versus Chaminade. That's what Metro Catholic Conference basketball is all about. John, what are your thoughts on the Vianney-Chaminade matchup?
Two well-shooting teams, and I think you're going to see a lot of offense tonight. Long and Carson are two particularly really good players for Vianney, and I think you're going to see a lot of points out of them. And then Chaminade is a really well-rounded team and really battle-tested so far. They're definitely more battle-tested than Vianney at this point. I do have Vianney ahead of Chaminade. No, I actually do have Chaminade ahead of Vianney in my own rankings right now, just because of some of the teams that Chaminade's beaten so far is pretty impressive. They did lose to McClure North, which, by the way, McClure North has been a really good team so far this season too. So, you pretty much covered it with Chaminade right there, and it's a pretty good matchup, and I'm looking forward to it. I would think that Chaminade probably has the edge in this one, just by a little bit. But I mean, they've kind of had Vianney's number these last, really for a long time.
Yeah,
honestly.
for the past decade, basically.
But there's been some really good games between these two teams, though. So I'm really. It's a really, really great MCC doubleheader, essentially.
Yes.
It's CBC at DeSmet.
That's right, my friend. CBC at DeSmet. DeSmet has 2 D1 signings, 2 seniors, baby. Ian Thomas going to Indiana State. Jordan Boyd going to Northern Iowa. They are led by 2 seniors, but don't worry. They've got a lot more than that. They've got a freshman, Daniel Anthony, who has caught my eye so far. Braden Butler, who has been really a consummate staple for the DeSmet Jesuit Spartans over the past 3 years. 4 years on varsity. And of course, Will Follick, who I think is one of the more underrated players in all of the MCC, a guard, a 6'1" guard. And you have Nick Harper, 6'3". It just really provides them their depth. They're Brayton Harris, another 6-foot freshman on the come up for Kent Williams, who's been the head coach there since the 2017-18 season. He played his college basketball at Southern Illinois Carbondale, has really gotten DeSmet turned around in the last several years. It wasn't a quick rebuild like the Spartan fans hoped it would be, but he's kind of gotten it back to playoff contention. They're going up against CBC, my alma mater. Kerry Lewis in his first year as head coach. He has had head coaching tenures at 3 different places: University City, Hazelwood West, and Normandy. But now he's finally got his opportunity to be the head coach in the MCC in his first year. He's got a very young squad, of course, led by freshman Stacy Sorrell. I've known this kid for a long time. He's from O'Fallon, Illinois, played on the Bradley B Elite over the summer in the Nike Junior EYBL. He has been leading CBC in scoring as only a freshman. And of course, they've got a lot of young players as well. Tristan Howard as a sophomore, Jamoni Harris, a freshman. I saw him play in middle school at Christ the King. And they have another freshman who also plays football, most notably Milton Proctor on varsity. So a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores on this team. But of course, they've got a junior who's an underrated sleeper player in the area, Kyron Jackson, who plays on Team Ramey AAU basketball, guard. And of course, they have 2 athletic seniors who play multiple sports, 2 D1 football commits, Jake Plummer first and Jaden Reed into their starting lineup. It is a loaded matchup between DeSmet and CBC. DeSmet, very senior heavy. CBC, a little bit of a younger team under first year head coach Kerry Lewis. What are your thoughts on this matchup, John?
DeSmet's coming in with, it doesn't seem like they're as loaded with their outside shooting compared to, the last few years. And CBC, they're just going to let it rip. I got to see them play a few times this past week at the Webster Classic. They had a really good 18-point win over St. Mary's. So I think that kind of has solidified some, hey, these guys are kind of legit right here. And there's some potential here with this cadet team. Like you said, they're young. I think they got to be pretty confident right now with their start to the season. So, but the Smet's been the last few years, they've really had the CBC's number too. I mean, CBC's, they were down the last few years, but it looks like they're getting a little bit better now. I really don't know who's going to win this game. I think it could go either way. I would tend to lean on the Smet side right there, just because of their seniority and their experience overall. And seems they still got a really good starting 5. And,
they do.
Yeah. So I guess I'd lean on the Smet side there.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to talk about this game. It's going to be at East St. Louis. It's going to be East St. Louis versus Belleville East, 2 Southwestern Conference rivals. Of course, they've got an infusion of transfers this year. Jamison White and Jihadi White Jr. Jamison White currently committed to Penn State, and CBC's leading scorer from last season, Devin Houston. All of them were teammates on the St. Louis Knights AAU team growing up, coached by Mike Cross. And of course, Alex Johnson was a teammate of theirs as well. He comes in from Althoff Catholic, but I believe this is his second year at East St. Louis. They got Phillip Jones from University City, a junior guard, coming in. So they had an infusion of transfers. They've had an unbelievable start to the season. They are 4-1 on East St. Louis's. They were going up against Belleville East. Another player from that St. Louis Knights AAU basketball team coached by Michael Cross. Jalen Coleman, led by Jalen Coleman. He's a senior. And, of course, another senior point guard, 5'11", Troy Alexander. The Belleville East Lancers going into this game 6-2. However, I think East St. Louis will have the edge. I think they have an absolute Avengers of a basketball team this year, a legitimate state championship contender. It's at home. It's in the city of champions, 89 blocks, all gas, no brakes. Give me East St. Louis over Belleville East in this game.
Yeah, I got to agree with you too. East St. Louis, they're off to I can't say. I was going to say they're off to a flying start, but that would just be awful to say.
There you go.
But, they're 5-1, and I mean they're even doing this without Jahadi White and Devin Houston, and they'll be back later this season, but they're just not available for them right now. And they still they had a really good win over Austin Westlake in Duncanville, Texas to start the season off. And by the way, Westlake has produced so many great NFL players.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. So, and then they've beaten Edwardsville, Fallon, and McClure North. That's probably really good 14-point win over McClure North there. And then they crushed Tri-Cities from Georgia at a shootout in Carbondale, Illinois last week. So that's where they're coming off there. And then Belleville East, they're off to a good start, 6-2. Had a really close win over Mater Dei, but then lost to Belleville West, their rivals, by 10 last week. So, but yeah, got to go with the Flyers.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to do a quick rundown here. This weekend, it is going to be the Midwest Shootout run by Ramey Basketball. Terrell Ramey does so much for the community. He's the father of Courtney Ramey. He has an AAU basketball program called Team Ramey that currently competes in the Nike EYCL. They're going to honor coaches Malcolm Hill, Randy Carter, and Richard Bird Hamilton this weekend at the annual Midwest Showdown Shootout. All games are going to be at Merrimack Community College at Big Bend Road in Kirkwood, Missouri. Terrell Ramey recently on the Earl Austin Show, which is on the Lou Information Station every Saturday at 9:00 a.m. recently. And of course, the games are going to be kicking off at 11:30 a.m. It's going to be SLU versus Mater Dei in Illinois at 1:00 p.m. Game 2, CBC versus the Memphis Business Academy. Game 3 will be St. Mary's versus Sacred Heart Griffin, Illinois in Springfield, Illinois. Game 4 will be at 4:00 p.m. at DeSmet versus Mount Carmel in Chicago, Illinois. And of course, Game 5 will be East St. Louis versus 21st Century from Gary, Indiana at 5:30 p.m. And at 7:00 p.m., Vashon versus Kennedy in Illinois in Game 6. And of course, Game 7, the final game, Cardinal Ritter versus Nicollet, Wisconsin. All tickets are $20. You can get tickets at the door. They have 7 games all day long. Some of the area's best teams at the Midwest Showdown Shootout sponsored by Team Ramey Basketball. Terrell Ramey does so much for the community. I'm so excited for this. John, what are your thoughts on this lineup of games here?
Well, I don't know anything about the Business Academy school.
It's in Memphis. They have Larry Benson.
Memphis.
They're a solid program.
Okay, good. For game 1, Mater Dei versus SLU, that's a pretty good matchup. I would take Mater Dei.
I'll take Mater Dei in that one.
Yeah, I mean, they had a close loss to. I mean, they're off to a decent start. They had a close loss to Belleville East there.
Gavin Peppenhorst is a heck of a player. Yes, Beckett Wade as well.
Good basketball family there too. DeSmet versus St. Mary's versus SHG. I'll go with the Dragons.
Are you kidding me? They got Gary Johnson, one of the best dunkers in the state. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he is
the best dunker in the
state.
My
gosh, no! Brian Turner has the Dragons rolling.
Easy. They do. They are rolling. DeSmet versus Mount Carmel. This would be historically a great football matchup, by the way.
Yes.
But I'm just going to go with Mount Carmel in this one without knowing anything.
Fair enough. They've got 2 nationally ranked freshmen there, Ronald Johnson and DeKaleb Hurd.
Go. My instincts, I guess, are so far good on that. And then East St. Louis versus 21st Century in Indiana. I have no idea who 21st Century is, but it's a great name. Yeah. And
you got a Missouri State commit there and Terrence Hayes.
Okay, I'm Vashon versus Kankakee. I'll go with Vashon there.
Yeah.
And then Cardinal Ritter versus Nicollet from Wisconsin. Cardinal Ritter's kind of off to a tough start this season. They've played some really good teams, so I'll go with Nicollet in that one.
Yeah, me too.
My opinions don't really matter much here.
No, it's great. I mean, we have so many Christmas tournaments coming up. The Don Mauer High School Christmas Tournament is happening this week. I believe it starts on December 23rd. The brackets have been released for the tournament, and we're going to talk more about the holiday tournaments this week. But on the boys bracket side, you have kicking off the tournament on December 23rd at 9:00 a.m. MICDS versus Rittner. MICDS, the 1 seed, Rittner, the 16th seed, December 23rd at 10:30 a.m. All games are going to be at MICDS. The 8th seed, Francis Howell versus the 9th seed, Maplewood Richmond Heights, December 23rd, 12:00 p.m. 4th seed, Edwardsville versus 13th seed, Parkway South. December 23rd at 1:30 p.m. It'll be 5th seed, Clayton versus 12th seed, St. Charles. December 23rd at 3:00 p.m. It'll be number 2 seed, CBC versus 15th seed, Jennings. December 23rd at 4:30 6:30 p.m. It'll be 7th seed Ladue versus 10th seed Kirkwood. December 23rd at 6 o'clock p.m. at the 3rd seed Hazelwood East versus the 14th seed Duchesne. And at December 23rd, 7:30 p.m., the 6th seed Parkway Central versus the 11th seed Fort Zumwalt North. What are your thoughts on the Don Mauer tournament, John Huff?
Always a great tournament. I love going to it, and it's really convenient too because there's really nothing else going on the 23rd and 26th. So it's a good way to get people at the gate. For that first round, I really like Ladue Kirkwood. I think should be a pretty good game. Two schools who know each other pretty well, and the winner of that will presumably play CBC in the second round. And then you got, I think it's Clayton versus St. Charles could be intriguing there as the 5-12 game. Francis Howell Maplewood should be a really good game, 8-9, which is it always usually is. And then, Zumwalt North and Parkway Central. I mean, Central, they're 3-2 right now, but North is, I think they're 3-3 or 2-3.
Yep.
I don't think there's a whole lot between those two teams, so therefore I think it could be a pretty competitive game. But obviously, MICDS, I don't know if it's been a really long time since they've won this tournament.
It has, very long.
This is a tournament that's existed, I think, for over 30 years.
Yeah,
now.
it has.
Yeah, so me following this tournament ever since I was like right before high school, so that was a long time ago. I don't think MICDS has won it in that time. So, but this is the best time they've. I mean, if any time they're going to win it, it's this year because they have a really good senior class, and then Tyler Ray is a really good junior for them too. So they have a really good starting five with some depth off the bench. Edwardsville is a really well coached team by Coach Battis, and we talked about CBC, and then Hazelwood East. They're 4-0 right now. They're off to a really good start, and I think they got a pretty good path to the semifinals there. And then Ladue played MICDS pretty close a week ago. So if Ladue were to beat Kirkwood and they met CBC, by the way, if that happens, it'd be the second year in a row they meet in the summer quarterfinals. I could see that being an interesting game, but I'm gonna have to be that boring pick MICDS as of right now to probably come out on top.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to follow us on our social medias, for my personal on X, it is at Brody Herman _ the underscore is after my name on X. And of course on Instagram, that's at Brody _ Herman. Of course, for GSV on Twitter, or now called X, it is at GSV, the letters GSV _ STL, all caps on X. And of course on Instagram, same thing.
HOUGH _ if you want to go bother me there. There it is.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about the holiday basketball tournaments all around the area next week on the Gateway Sports Venue High School Sports Show. I'm Brody Herman. This is John Huff. We are live here at the Lou Information Station in the JL from Randolph Studios, live and on demand at louinfo.com. Thank you for joining us, guys.